I never imagined my parents would drain my credit for a lavish wedding and call me ungrateful. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The sun was setting when I found them, my heart hammering in my chest. My whole future dangled like a fraying thread, and I had no clue how. I could almost taste the salty tears threatening to spill as I walked into the living room. My parents' voices sharp and cold, cutting through the air. "Just give us a chance," my mother pleaded, her fingers trembling as she held a glossy brochure of an extravagant venue, sparkling chandeliers, crystal glasses, and a price tag that made my chest tighten. The walls felt like they were closing in on me, trapping me in my parents' dreams that were now suffocating my reality. I wanted to scream, to shake them and ask, "Why are you doing this?" But instead I stood frozen, staring at the portrait of my childhood that hung crooked on the wall where joy once radiated. Now only shadows dwelled. Only a year ago I had been craving a simple ceremony, an intimate exchange of vows where everyone genuinely loved us, wrapped in silly happiness. Then came the whispers, the glances, the pressure to transform my love into a show. Money began to pour from my credit card as if it were water, my dreams slipping away in waves of pretty decorations and over-the-top centerpieces. I could hardly breathe, caught in a whirlwind of uncertainty. My parents couldn't see the ache in my heart, they only saw a chance to flaunt their dreams through me. I felt like a marionette, strings pulled tight, with my own desires lost in the rise and fall of their expectations. And yet, beneath the chaos, a flicker of hope lingered, the voice of my fiancé. Samuel was my anchor, cherishing the moments of laughter through silent walks, our fingers intertwined like a promise. "We'll get through this," he had whispered last night, but could we? The tension hung heavy. My mom's voice rose. "It's not like you're even grateful for what we're doing." I gasped at her words. Gratitude? Did they not see the pain they inflicted? It felt like they plunged a knife into my gut, deeper with every syllable. Suddenly my father turned, eyes blazing with anger. "This is what's expected of you." His voice echoed through the room as if the walls themselves held their judgment. The rage brewed inside me, a storm ready to burst. But deep down, a more profound fear churned, a question that tightened my chest. What happens when love succumbs to expectations? Would I lose Samuel in the frenzy, even as I gained the wedding of my nightmares? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The days turned into a blur. A whirlwind of phone calls, tastings, and mock-ups that felt strangely foreign. I often found myself zoning out, watching my mother pore over meticulously organized spreadsheets, and calling vendors with a fervor I couldn't comprehend. It was like I was living in someone else's dream, where I was expected to be the beautiful bride stepping into the spotlight but feeling only shadows lurking in the corners of my mind. Every time I attempted to voice my concerns, the room would shift, a palpable tension rising. "You just don't understand how important this is," my mother exclaimed one day as I tried to suggest a more modest venue. Her words sliced through the air, leaving me wincing as if bruised. I managed to escape that evening, slipping into the sanctuary of our small garden where Samuel and I often shared stolen moments beneath the stars. His laughter felt like home, but tonight it echoed anxiously against the stillness of dusk. I curled up on the swing, a place we often associated with simple joy, and motioned for him to join me. "Hey," he said softly, tilting his head as he noticed my furrowed brow. "What's going on?" I wanted to share the confusion that churned in my heart, but all that escaped were tears. "I feel like I'm losing control of everything." "They don't see me, Samuel. They only see what they want." His silence wrapped around me like a warm blanket, and for a moment, I wondered if he understood the depth of my turmoil. "You're not losing anything," he finally said, voice steady yet gentle. "You're just standing firm in who you are. I love you and I want you to be happy." The small flame flickered to life amidst my despair, igniting a sense of warmth that pushed back the encroaching darkness. But his reassurance was short-lived, as reality crashed down once more, stirring the chaos in my chest. Can you promise me one thing? I asked hesitantly, grasping at the thread of hope. When the time comes when it's just us, promise you'll still choose the simple moments, right? No matter what everyone else says. His eyes softened, full of sincerity. Always. I choose you, not the wedding. But that promise felt like a fragile wish, a balloon tethered by a thin string in stormy weather. My parents' voices haunted my nights, leaving little room for dreams amidst webbed expectations. As I returned to the house that night, I caught a glimpse of my mother dialing yet another vendor, her brow furrowed with concentration. Inside, a flicker of guilt flared up at the idea of defying her vision. Days passed, and as the invitations were sent and RSVPs began to flood in, I felt like I was suffocating beneath my own skin. One late afternoon, I received a phone call that shattered what little peace I had left. A stern voice on the other end informed me that my credit card had been flagged for suspicious activity due to the recent expenditure spiraling far beyond the limits I had set. Ma'am, your parents may not have the authority for all these transactions, she said. You might want to look into this. Stunned, I hung up, the world around me tilting as reality crashed down anew. I marched straight into the living room, heart racing, ready to confront my parents. But instead, I found them sitting together on the sofa, looking more vulnerable than I'd ever seen them. My mother's eyes softened as she caught my gaze. Let's talk, she said, her voice genuine. We want what's best for you. We thought this was what you wanted. But in that moment I couldn't bring myself to reply. Laying bare my fears, the consequences of their choices, felt insurmountable. Salvation felt painfully out of reach. Just as I summoned the courage to speak out, the doorbell rang. A familiar figure came into view, my older brother, Jack, unexpectedly standing at the threshold. His expression held an intensity I'd never seen before, almost pleading. I need to talk to you now. The gravity of his tone sent a chill through me, and all my breath suspended in time. What could be so urgent, so dire? With my heart pounding, I glanced between my parents and Jack. I had been wrestling with my fate, but now it felt as if another storm was brewing, threatening to pull everything apart I had been trying to piece together. A part of me wanted to run, to shield myself from whatever revelation was coming my way, but the weight of anticipation anchored me to the spot. And just like that, the foundations of my world began to shake once more. The air felt charged with unspoken words, each one heavy and clashing like thunderclouds brewing above. Jack stepped inside, and his presence felt oddly grounding amid the encroaching chaos. He stood tall, hands buried deep in his pockets, and met my gaze, as if trying to convey a world of urgency without uttering a single syllable. Can we talk in private? He asked, glancing warily at my parents, who remained frozen in their seats, eyes wide with a mix of confusion and concern. Before I could respond, I felt an invisible pull toward the kitchen, a space that had held countless family memories, laughter over dinners, late-night baking experiments, and heartwarming moments that seemed a world away now. But as I walked, I couldn't shake the sense that every moment was a thread fraying from the fabric of my life. Once inside, I closed the door softly behind us, yet the silence that enveloped us thrummed with anxiety. Jack leaned against the counter, his posture tense, the kind I recognized from our childhood when an unspoken crisis loomed. Is it about the wedding? I asked, desperation leaking into my voice. I can't handle any more right now. His jaw tightened, and he ran a hand through his hair. It's more serious than that. I clutched my arms, feeling small and lost under the weight of his words. What do you mean? There's something Mom and Dad haven't told you. I was in the city the past few days trying to gather information. You remember Aunt Linda? She wasn't well. I nodded, the mention of our spirited aunt stirring the familiar ache of worry. But she's better, isn't she? Jack's eyes turned somber, presaging news I wasn't prepared for. She passed away. The funeral's in a few days and, well, her will, it revealed. He paused, choosing his words with care, like a surgeon wielding a scalpel. There were complications with her estate. It's not just the wedding expenses we need to worry about, it's about what's coming next. What do you mean? Panic tightened my chest like a vice. What does that have to do with me? Mom and Dad have taken out loans against your future inheritance to fund everything, he confessed, and each word cut like glass, raw and unbearable. All those extravagant plans, they need to pay it back somehow. And they haven't shared this with you because, well, they think it'll break you. What about me? I asked, my voice cracking. Do they even see that I have dreams? Do they see me? I don't know if they realize it, not truly, he murmured, a deep sadness gracing his features. I think they are just so caught up in this vision of happiness that they forgot what really matters. A swell of anger erupted inside me, mixing chaotically with the sorrow. For months I had been suffocating under their expectations, believing I was losing myself in the process. But now it became clear that their vision came with strings attached, trapping me in a web of financial burdens I hadn't asked for. So what am I supposed to do? Just be the perfect daughter who plays along with this delusion? Who gets used as a bargaining chip? Not if you don't want to, he said gently. I know this feels suffocating, but you are not alone. You can speak out. They care about you. That's why they went this far. But they don't realize they're smothering you. His words echoed in my mind, igniting a fierce resolve. Perhaps it was time to reclaim my autonomy, to stand up against the tide that had been consuming me. I thought of Samuel, of the moments of laughter and love we'd shared. I remembered the soft glimmer of hope he offered amidst the darkness. Could I find the strength to hold on to that? Just then, muffled voices from the living room came through the walls, rising into an argument. My heart dropped as I recognized my mother's voice, raised and strained. It's not about the money. It's about the vision. You all should be grateful. Grateful? Jack whispered with disbelief. For what? This facade. A sharp jolt shot through me. The confrontation had begun without me, and it was about to erupt. I glanced back at Jack, my heart pounding. What if they turn on you? Then we face them together, he replied, his courage fortifying my wavering spirit as I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what lay ahead. The door flew open. My mother stood there, her expression fierce, her hands clenched at her sides. Behind her, I caught a glimpse of my father, anguish evident in his eyes. What are you two talking about? She demanded, her voice breaking like the surface tension of a lake disturbed by a stone. The ground beneath me felt unsteady as the truth hung heavy in the air, something dark and awe-inspiring, ready to unravel all we knew. Each heartbeat echoed with the promise of change and chaos. Mom, we need to talk, I said, my voice rising against the tide of panic. This was a turning point, the moment when silence could no longer protect us. Every second felt like an eternity as I gathered the courage to unearth the questions festering in my mind. Would they understand that the time for fairness had arrived, and that their love could not cloud the line between dreams and reality any longer? My world held its breath, waiting to see how the frayed edges would come undone. What would remain once the truth was unleashed? The confrontation loomed over us, filling the air with a tension so palpable that it felt like stepping into a thunderstorm. My mother's fierce gaze settled on me, unreadable yet suffused with an urgency that made my heart race. Jack, standing resolutely by my side, mirrored my anxiety, his strong presence acting as both anchor and shield. What are you hiding? My mother urged, her voice sharp, almost pleading, as though she feared the answers lurking in the shadows. Mom, please, we can't pretend anymore, I said, my voice trembling but resilient, like a flower pushing through cracked concrete. I need to know how you and Dad could make these decisions without even asking me. This affects my future, my life. Her expression shifted, caught between the weight of my words and the facade she held with trembling fingers. This is not just about you. This wedding is about our family, our legacy. We worked so hard to give you what we never had. By putting me into debt? I shot back, the fire in my veins igniting. This isn't a gift, it feels like a trap. You're sacrificing my dreams for some hazy vision of perfect happiness. Behind my mother, I caught a glimpse of my father's face, a mix of sorrow and frustration flickering across his features. He shifted uncomfortably, weighed down by the gravity of what was at stake, but remained silent, a poignant reminder that he had always allowed my mother's ambition to supersede his need for honesty. Jack stepped forward, his voice firm. And what about her happiness? What about her autonomy? You've leveraged her future for a show, and she doesn't even know if it's what she wants. For a moment, I felt my heart swell with gratitude for his unwavering support. Jack always knew when to fight for me, but that gratitude was quickly overshadowed by the fear swirling in my mother's eyes, a fear that shadowed our relationship with the darkness of past grievances. You think this is easy for us? We're trying. You think that you're the only one who is suffering here? My mother's voice cracked, revealing the pain beneath her bravado. We sprawled every ounce of our being into making this happen for you. But what you're doing is suffocating me, I shouted, letting my frustration echo in the walls that had once cradled countless joyful memories. You've stolen my choices. With those words hanging in the air, silence enveloped us. It was pregnant with the weight of realization and epiphany realized. If the barricades had been built by them, surely I had the power to dismantle them. Yet a flicker of sympathy softened the harshness of my mother's features, revealing the glimmer of vulnerability that had long been obscured behind layers of expectation and pride. What if she started? But I cut her off, my voice barely above a whisper. Now that I want to figure this out, Mom. Together, I implored, my heart aching for a bridge between us. But not under conditions where I'm a pawn. I deserve a part in this too, just like you. Before she could respond, her face crumpled, the steely resolve fading to reveal a mother who was just as lost as I was. I didn't want to scare you. I thought I was protecting you from the burdens. Protecting me or controlling my life. I injected softly, the anger giving way to understanding. In that moment it became clear. We were both caught in a whirlwind of aspirations and fear, and beneath the chaos lay a profound love that had gone awry. I need time, I said, my voice fragile yet determined. I need to think. I can't go through with the wedding as it is now. It's not what I envisioned. The silence that followed felt like a dam breaking, the torrent of emotions flooding out unbidden. Jack's hand found mine, squeezing gently, a lifeline amid the storm. Don't do this alone, he murmured, as though he could sense the fissures that ran deep within me. We stood together, united against an invisible foe, our breaths heavy with the unarticulated fear of what lay ahead. Despite the thrumming tension within that kitchen filled with ghosts of our past, I felt a flicker of hope, a fragile flame that maybe, just maybe, the truth could lead us toward a better understanding. As we stepped away from the island, my mother's sorrowful gaze suddenly flicked toward the doorway. What have you two been hiding? She demanded sharply, her voice coarse as she moved toward the living room. What? Jack and I exchanged a horrified glance. There was a deep undercurrent of dread swirling at the thought of the secrets we thought were buried. We weren't hiding anything, I stammered, my mind racing. But deep down my heart whispered of the other conversations, the details lost in silence, the hushed promises made in dark corners. Just then a figure appeared in the doorway. It was Samuel, an unexpected sight that almost knocked the breath out of me. He opened his mouth as if to speak but froze, his eyes darting between the tension-filled space and the heavy silence that now reigned. What's happening? He implored, concern etching lines into his youthful face, but all I could see were the shadows of choices looming over us, threatening to overwhelm. And that moment, I realized that not only had the truth been hovering on the edges of our lives, but now it had come crashing in, shattering the lives we had painstakingly crafted, a shattering that promised to expose every unspoken word and buried dream. My heart raced with a heavy mix of dread and hope as I faced this unexpected revelation. Whatever was lurking beneath the surface was about to rise, and I wondered how it would change everything we thought we knew. The silence hung like a thick fog, wrapping around us in the living room where Samuel stood, eyes wide with both confusion and concern. His presence felt like a spark in the otherwise dim room, igniting more questions than answers. I suddenly felt small, like a child caught between storms, and I wondered if I could truly navigate this emotional tempest. Samuel, I began, but my voice faltered, drowned out by the cacophony of emotions bubbling within me. I wasn't sure how to explain the whirlwind of our conversation, let alone the tumultuous feelings I had concerning our family dynamic and the wedding. What's going on? He pressed, his gaze shifting nervously to Jack, who didn't flinch, but instead stood rigidly beside me as if ready to defend against an unknown threat. It's a bit complicated, Jack eventually replied, his tone calm but firm, almost protective. We're just talking about the way things have been set up for the wedding. It's not what she wants. Samuel's brow furrowed, a mix of innocence and heartbreak washing over him. But it's a wedding, right? Isn't that supposed to be happy? I thought everyone was on the same page. His voice cracked slightly, and I saw in him the same yearning for simplicity that I often craved, but it wasn't simple anymore. It hadn't been in a long time. I took a shaky breath, wrestling with the coiled emotions that churned within me. Supposed to be about love, Samuel. But it feels like everyone's chasing after something that I never even wanted. I didn't ask for any of this. Before Samuel could fully process my words, My mother stepped forward, her silhouette taut with tension. You don't understand, Samuel. We sacrificed so much to give her this opportunity. This is our chance to shine as a family. Her resolve momentarily wavered, revealing the raw emotion just beneath the surface. But at what cost? I interjected, my tone steadier now. Our relationships? My happiness? My heart ached for my mother, who had seemingly been battling fears of inadequacy, but that didn't lessen the resentment that seemed to bubble up from deep within, ready to spill over. Tears shimmered in my mother's eyes as she took a step back, her emotional fortress cracking. You think I've done this to hurt you? I thought you'd be happy. Just then something flickered in Samuel's eyes, an understanding that seemed to bridge the gap between my mother and me, igniting the warmth of empathy. But what if she's not happy? He asked softly. What if she feels trapped? My mother glanced at her son, her gaze transforming as if she was seeing him for the first time. In that fleeting moment, the realization hit me: Samuel had always been the sensitive one in our family, the voice of reason among the chaos. His steadfast loyalty to truth made him a beacon of hope when storms clouded our judgments. I don't want to be trapped, I admitted, my voice breaking. It feels like I'm suffocating under the pressure of this perfect life you've envisioned, Mom. I want to have a say, to find joy in my own way, not the way you've painted for me. Tears slipped down her cheeks, and I instinctively reached out, longing to reconcile. But before I could bridge that divide, my father finally rose from behind the shadows. The weight of his silence pressed heavily upon us, and I felt the room shift as he joined the tableau. I've held back too long, he said, voice gravelly with unspoken truths. I should have been part of this conversation instead of lurking in the background like a ghost. I see now that we've forced you into something we all thought you'd want, but we never asked you at all. I could hardly process what he was saying. His admission hung between us, heavy and bittersweet. I wished desperately for my father's support all along, not just now when everything was unraveling. You could have helped me too, I whispered, my heart aching for the bond we could have shared. I know, and I'm sorry, he replied, sadness shimmering in his eyes. We tried to shield you from our own failures, but in the process we've hurt you. I've hurt you, did I? In that moment, a wave of empathy swept through me. Understanding that we were all trapped in our own webs, entangled in the expectations we had set for one another. Together we stood on the precipice of change, united by the recognition of our failings, and it filled me with an unexpected warmth. Still, just as a fragile peace seemed to settle upon us, the doorbell chimed through the tension, pulling us abruptly back into the present. My stomach dropped. Who could that possibly be? Samuel's eyes widened. I'll get it, he offered, but before he reached the door, my phone buzzed in my pocket, its shrill note piercing the moment. With trembling hands I retrieved it, my heart plummeting as I read the message from an unknown number. I know what you've been hiding. Meet me at the old oak tree. Panic surged through me, blending with the fragile hope that had just started to unfurl. My breath quickened as I turned to Jack, who was already looking at me with a mixture of concern and determination. The path ahead felt murky once more, shadows casting doubt and confusion as I contemplated the hidden truths waiting in the darkness. Who is it? Jack asked, his voice low yet steady as he leaned closer, reading my expression. I don't know, I stammered, my voice barely above a whisper. But I have to find out, did I? In that instant, I knew my life was about to change once again, and I felt the pull of destiny wrapping around me like a tempest within a storm. Whatever truths were lurking, this time I wouldn't shy away from facing them. With newfound determination, I took a step toward the door, ready to confront whatever lay on the other side. The weight of uncertainty loomed over me, but a flicker of resolve ignited in my heart. This was part of unearthing my own truth, and I would not face it alone. The old oak tree stood in the park like a sentinel of secrets and memories, its gnarled branches whispering tales to those who dared to listen. As I approached, my heart hammered in my chest, echoing the trepidation that pulsed through my veins. Jack remained close at my side, his presence a steadying force amidst the whirlwind of my emotions. Are you sure about this? He asked, concern etched across his face as the shadows danced in the fading light. I sensed his protective instincts flaring, but there was a boldness in my heart that refused to be quelled. I don't know what he'll find, I admitted, the weight of uncertainty heavy on my shoulders. But I need to know who sent that message, what they think they know about me. Just as I reached the gnarled roots of the oak, I spotted a figure shrouded in the dusky light. The silhouette turned towards me, and my stomach dropped. It was Rachel, an old friend whose laughter had once brought warmth to my world. But now her eyes held a glint of something undeniably different, a blend of sympathy and urgency. "Rachel? What are you doing here?" I stammered, taken aback by the unexpected twist of fate. "I didn't want it to come to this," she said, her voice steady but laced with emotion. "But I couldn't ignore it anymore. I saw the way your parents have been treating you like a doll on display instead of their daughter." The pain of her words sliced through me, echoing my own feelings of betrayal and neglect. "You've seen?" I asked, disbelief whisking me away to the memories of our carefree friendship that had somehow become estranged in the chaos of expectations. "I heard what they were planning. There's so much more going on than you think," she insisted, stepping closer. "I don't know if anyone has told you this yet, but my parents have been in contact with yours. They've been discussing this wedding behind your back for months. You're not just a victim. They think you should be honored." The revelation knocked the breath from my lungs. The world around me swirled in shades of betrayal, and for a moment, I was lost in a tempest of emotions. Honored? For what? When did I stop being a person and become a trophy? My voice trembled, my heart racing from the weight of this knowledge. Jack's hand slipped into mine, grounding me as I faced Rachel. "What else do you know?" I demanded, desperation lacing my words. "We can't stay in the dark, and you shouldn't either," she said, her gaze earnest but tinged with fear. "If you don't take control of your own life, they will keep pulling the strings forever. I can help you if you'll let me." Her offer hung in the air like a fragile thread, stretching between the two of us. The thought of taking control, of finally speaking my truth aloud, felt daunting. Yet, amidst the uncertainty, a flicker of hope ignited. What if Rachel was the ally I never knew I needed? Could I really challenge the fate my parents had laid before me? "That's why I'm here," Rachel continued, emboldened by my silence. "'Cause I care about you. You deserve love not just from your family but the kind that lets you be happy. The kind that chooses you for who you are." Before I could reply, my phone buzzed in my pocket again, sending a jolt through me. Who else could be reaching out with secrets? I pulled it out hesitantly, glancing at the screen as my heart raced. "Don't say a word to anyone," the message read. "They don't understand what's really going on. You're standing at the edge of something big, and I can help you. But you must promise not to tell them I reached out." The urgency clawed at my insides, tangling with the emotional turmoil swirling around me. "What does that even mean?" I murmured, turning to Jack and Rachel, needing their grounding presence to help make sense of the chaos. "We have to decide," Jack said softly. "Do we want to uncover the truth even if it's painful? Are we ready for whatever comes next, because it sounds like things are going to get complicated?" Rachel nodded, her gaze piercing through the tension. "You deserve to know, even if it feels too heavy to bear right now. The truth is out there waiting for you. But no it might change everything, especially with your family." Hope warred with fear within me. They had already changed everything without my consent. How much worse could it get? But the thought of not knowing, of staying entangled in their calculated web of expectations, it felt suffocating. And perhaps my hesitation was the dim voice of the past, whispering doubts and fears that held me back from the bright future I longed for. "I'll do it," I finally said, surprise echoing in my own words. My heart galloped wildly, fear and excitement colliding as a surge of courage arose. "I want to know the truth." Both Rachel and Jack exchanged glances, a spark of excitement sparking between them as if they could feel the energy shift. Yet, before we could delve deeper, a car screeched to a halt nearby, bringing an abrupt end to our conversation. The door swung open, and a figure emerged, me mother, with a look of determination etched across her face. The moment I laid eyes on her, a chill raced through me, descending upon my fragile resolve. "Where have you been?" she called, her tone sharp. "We need to talk, and we need to talk right now." The weight of the world seemed to converge at that very moment, swirling around us like a storm about to break. My pulse quickened and darkness loomed ever closer. But as I stood with Jack and Rachel, I felt the power of truth gathering heat within me. Would I finally forge my own path, despite the hurdles set by those who loved me? It was a delicate balance, a precipice of revelation upon which we now stood. The tension in the air was palpable, a thick fog of dread settling over our small group. My mother's commanding presence loomed like a storm cloud, squeezing the courage I had just summoned. Jack tightened his grip on my hand, grounding me amidst the chaos unfolding before us. I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that this confrontation would fracture the fragile resolve I just built. "Mom," I began, but she cut me off, her voice slicing through the twilight. "Enough. This is not a time for explanations. You need to understand the importance of what we're doing. You're my daughter, and you have a duty to fulfill." Her words felt like a punch to the gut. The weight of her expectations pressed down on me, suffocating and firm. "I am not a doll to be paraded around, I'm a person," I blurted out, the simmering frustration bubbling over. Jack's eyes widened, and Rachel offered me an encouraging nod. My mother's expression darkened, her features drawn tight with anger. "You will do what is expected of you. Do you think this is easy for us? You have no idea the sacrifices we've made." A flicker of doubt crossed my mind. Did I truly grasp the sacrifices my parents were making? But the thought fled as swiftly as it came, swallowed by the rising tide of my own hurt and resentment. I overheard Mom and Dad discussing the wedding plans. "They've talked to Rachel's parents. They see this as a merger, not a union," I asserted, the words tumbling out in a rush. "You heard wrong." My mother shot back, her voice sharp and dismissive. "They're excited for you. They want what's best for you. This is our legacy." "Legacy? Or control?" I retorted, feeling emboldened by the truth coursing through me. "If you cared about what was best for me, you'd ask what I want. I'm not a pawn in your game." The heat in her eyes flickered momentarily as she took a step back, perhaps realizing for the first time that I had the power to fight back. Our eyes locked, and in that moment, I felt the shift like cracking ice beneath our feet, a fragile foundation threatening to break. Jack shifted closer, sensing the rising tension in my mother's posture. "Maybe we all need to take a step back," he suggested gently, trying to ease the mounting storm. But my mother was relentless. "You don't understand what's at stake, and neither does Jack. You both think you know best, but I've made decisions for you since the day you were born. You're ungrateful." A deep ache settled in my chest, echoing in the hollow of my heart. Her words felt like a betrayal, mirroring the frustration wrenching in my gut. I wanted to scream that I wasn't ungrateful, I was merely yearning for my own identity. One that didn't revolve around expectations or a lavish wedding that felt like a gilded cage, rather than a celebration of love. The air crackled with unresolved resentment. Rachel intervened. "This isn't about gratitude. It's about understanding and respect. She deserves a choice, not just a chore to tick off the list." The urgency in Rachel's voice broke through the tension for a brief moment, and my mother hesitated, a flicker of confusion spiking in the depths of her eyes. "Respect? You don't just get respect. It's earned." My mother shot back, defense coating her words like armor. "Then listen to her, truly listen," Jack implored, his steady voice cutting through the chaos in the air. "You cannot dismiss her feelings. That isn't respect." But the fight in my mother's gaze only intensified. "We're not having this conversation in public. Come home. Wilton is waiting for you, and it's time to put these childish thoughts aside." As she turned, her heels clicking against the pavement, I felt a familiar sting of despair. Was I really losing my chance at freedom even before I could grasp at it? The urgency of the moment filled the air, and suddenly, the weight of my mother's words swept over me again. What would be waiting at home? The thought of stepping back into that world, the harsh remarks, the smiling masks, the confines of expectations, it felt suffocating. Before I could think, I blurted out, "No. I won't go back to that life, not like this." The protest ricocheted off the surrounding trees, echoing in the dusky silence before it fell back upon me like a prison door slamming shut. I felt raw and exposed, the enormity of my stance crashing down upon me. "Your choice," then my mother said, her tone eerily calm, yet there was a hint of something darker beneath. "But you can't run forever. You think this is hard? You have no idea what's really coming." With that ominous warning, she turned away, leaving a chasm of uncertainty in her wake. I could feel the weight of her gaze lingering, a promise that this battle was far from over. Jack squeezed my hand tightly, his presence steadying, yet I could sense the tremor in his voice. "We have to face this together. Whatever it takes." A sudden shiver ran down my spine at the weight of his words. This newfound resolve wasn't just a matter of my will but a reflection of the family I was born into, and the fight that lay ahead. My heart raced in my chest, while Rachel's supportive gaze offered a flicker of defiance. I can't stay the same, not anymore, I admitted quietly, the realization dawning upon me that I was standing not just on the precipice of a life-changing choice but also teetering on the edge of a deep, dark truth. Just as the silence settled, the soft buzz of my phone broke through the tension again. Hesitantly, I pulled it out, heart sinking as I saw the new message flash on the screen. You have to be careful. They're watching you. Don't let anyone know I reached out. A chill gripped me, the weight of the words echoed like a warning bell. With my heart pounding in my ears, I looked up at Jack and Rachel, uncertainty swirling within me. What now? I breathed, anxiety prickling at my nerves, as the realization hit Meth Storm was only just beginning. The night wrapped around us like a heavy cloak, the shadows stretching longer across the pavement as we stood there, grappling with the weight of unspoken truths. I could feel the chill of uncertainty creeping under my skin, and for a moment, the world felt impossibly vast. The path ahead obscured, Jack's grip tightened around my hand, a gesture that sought to anchor us both in the tumult of emotions. Rachel's concerned eyes reflected a mix of empathy and determination, as if she was mentally maneuvering through the labyrinth of consequences we were about to face. The words on my phone loomed over us like a specter, thrusting me deeper into a chasm of fear. Who's watching you? Rachel asked softly, her voice barely a whisper, yet it sliced through the night's thickening silence that I shook my head, still trying to wrap my mind around the implications. I don't know, it's just a message from an unknown number. But it feels ominous. They can't be serious, right? Watching me. The thought sent icy tendrils down my spine. You need to talk to whoever that was, Jack urged, his voice steady despite the swirling apprehension in my chest. You can't let fear dictate your next steps. Fear is all I have right now, I replied, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. Mom just walked away, and I'm terrified of what that means. This isn't just about me anymore, this is bigger than we are. Rachel's brow furrowed, and she glanced around cautiously as if shadows might be listening. We'll figure it out together. We can always come up with a plan, maybe even find someone who can help. Help? I scoffed, a bitter taste forming in my mouth. Help from who? The same people who strive to control every facet of my life? I doubt they'd allow me to breathe without a contract on it. Maybe it's time to consider a different path, Jack suggested. People can be more than their labels. Sometimes the unexpected allies are the ones who show up when you least expect it. His sincerity caught me off guard, igniting a flicker of hope amidst the dim shadows of despair. You really think so? I challenged, permitting a momentary lightness in my tone. Absolutely, he replied, nodding earnestly. We'll find a way to break through this together. Change only happens when we confront the storm head-on. The sincerity in his eyes wrapped around me like a warm blanket, offering comfort against the despair looming in my mind. Suddenly, it was not all darkness. There was the promise of a flickering flame, a chance to reclaim my voice from the controlling clutches of my family. I took a deep breath, swallowing down the turbulent emotions, steeling myself for whatever chaos awaited. You're right. I can't let their expectations drown me. I need to uncover the truth behind that message. But if someone is indeed watching, a knot twisted in my gut, fear mixing with a strange thrill of daring. Then we need to move carefully. As we began to discuss a vague plan, weighing options that felt so precarious, I caught sight of a figure lingering on the edge of the park, a shadow shrouded beneath the sparse streetlights. My heart raced once again, tension thickening the air as the figure moved closer. Stay close, I murmured, pulling Jack and Rachel protectively towards me. A few steps later, the person stepped into the light, a woman dressed in an unassuming long coat, her hair pulled back into a tight bun, and her eyes darting between us, gauging our reactions. There was familiarity in her demeanor, a hint of urgency in her softened gaze. Is this the right place? She asked, her voice smooth yet edged with anxiety. I received the message. I was told to come here if I wanted to help. My breath caught in my throat. Help? Who sent you? I asked, suspicion gnawing at my instincts like a feral animal. They're not the enemy. I'm not here to hurt you. She took a step closer, her hands raised slightly. My name is Clara, and I've been doing this for years in silence, watching people like you battle their way through the same struggles. The implications of her words sent a rush of uncertainty through me. What do you mean? Who are you? I know your family's history, the lengths they go to control destiny, she said quietly. I can help you find a way out. But we have to be careful. They will fight back, and you've already stepped into a danger zone. My mind raced to process the possibilities. Help from a source I didn't understand, the stakes higher than ever, and the possibility of turning my turbulent emotions into action. It was a mixture too intoxicating to resist. But the thought of my mother, perhaps poised to implement the next phase of her meticulously planned life for me, sent icy tendrils of determination spiraling within before I could respond. Clara leaned in closer, her voice almost a whisper. Your mother's watching every move you make. You can either let her dictate your life or take control of your own future. The choice is yours, but time is short. A wave of nausea rolled through me. Clara's words bore a weight I couldn't ignore. It was a call to arms, a challenge I could either embrace or cower from. As if the universe were in sync with our turmoil, the distant howl of sirens sliced through the air, sending a tremor through my resolve. Jack's grip tightened once more, grounding me as panic surged. We have to decide now. What do you want? My heart raced, the truth echoing louder than ever before as the consequences of my choices hung like a tightly drawn string ready to snap. I want to break free, I declared, the realization washing over me like a revelation. At that moment the storm felt less daunting, the fog of dread slowly dissipating as I stood on the precipice of my own destiny. A new shadow loomed ahead, hinting that the real battle was far from over. As I faced Clara, my heart thudding in my chest, a new determination sparked within me. Let's do this, I whispered. As the night closed in around us once more, uncertainty mixing with the anticipation of what lay ahead. The echoes of my declaration still lingered in the air, a fragile promise that felt both empowering and terrifying. Clara's expression was a mixture of cautious optimism and undeniable urgency, as if she understood the stakes more profoundly than I did. Then we need to move quickly, she said, her voice strained with the weight of her own experiences. Your family won't just let you go easily. They've invested too much in the illusion they've created. I looked at Jack and Rachel, the steadfastness in their eyes intertwining with my bubbling fears. What do we do? Clara glanced around, her gaze flitting from one shadow to another, ever watchful. First, we need to assess your connections. Who can you trust? Who might stand with you against your family? I felt a wave of unease wash over me. In my life, trust had always been contingent on loyalty to the family, a web of obligation that suffocated me more every day. Don't know. Maybe my friends from the club? Those camaraderie-filled nights felt so distant now, overshadowed by my current reality. But they're oblivious to everything. They don't need to know everything to support you, Clara urged. Surround yourself with those who care about your happiness. And remember, people can surprise you with unexpected courage. So we discuss possible allies. I couldn't shake a growing anxiety about my parents. The warning Clara had given me glinted like a sharpened knife in my mind, a reminder that my mother's scrutiny was always lurking. The looming specter of their disapproval was like an albatross around my neck. Jack squeezed my hand, providing an irresistible tether to normalcy amidst the chaos. What about your dad? He suggested hesitantly. He's not like your mom, right? Maybe he can help. Help? You mean help her? I shot back, disbelief coating my words in a heated wave. My dad is just as entrenched in the family facade as my mom is. He may not show it as brazenly, but he's no different. He's always been. My voice trailed off, battling the complex feelings swirling in my chest. Maybe not, Rachel chimed in, but he's still your father. Maybe he could be persuaded to see things from your point of view. The idea hovered like a fragile butterfly, and for a fleeting moment, I entertained a vision of my father as an unexpected ally rather than a gatekeeper to the life I'd been forced to accept. But the shadows flickering in my heart reminded me of how many times I had both dismissed and yet yearned for his approval. His loyalty lies with your mother, I said finally, resisting the lure of hope. He wouldn't stand against her. It's too risky. Clara nodded, frustration twisting her features. You can't wait for him to come around. If you want to break free, you have to act. Create a plan that keeps the element of surprise surging with resolve. I pressed my fingers into the cool fabric of my jeans, feeling the pinpricks of doubt tussle with my determination. Fine. We'll start with the club. Can't hurt to at least reach out. Just then, a voice called from the entrance of the park, slicing through our urgent conversations. There you are. It was Max, a close friend known for his unwavering loyalty and a stubborn streak that rivaled my own. The playful girl inside me was almost relieved to see him, but that relief quickly morphed into panic as I caught the glint of concern in his eyes. Rachel told me something was up. What's going on? The last thing I wanted was to put him at risk. I felt the undercurrent of fear curl tighter in my gut. But before I could figure out what to say, Clara stepped forward. It's time to be honest with those you trust. So I took a deep breath, an anchor amidst the turbulent sea of my emotions, and relayed the urgency of my situation, how my mother's threats had entangled me in a web of fear and control. Max listened intently, his brow knitting ever tighter. I can't let them control you anymore, he said softly, his voice steady. Count me in. A sudden warmth blossomed in my chest, a sense of belonging that had been long absent. Perhaps this wasn't the uphill battle I had anticipated. Perhaps there was strength and connection, a fire that could burn through the suffocating darkness that shrouded my prospects. But as the warmth settled, a chill swept through me when the realization struck how exposed I had made myself. My vulnerabilities were bare, and I felt the weight of the truth crawl dangerously close to the surface. Just as we began formulating a plan, Clara's phone buzzed harshly in the stillness, drawing all our attention. She glanced at the screen, her expression shifting from focused determination to sheer dread. It's them, she whispered, backing away slightly, her eyes wide. We need to go. Now. Panic erupted like wildfire. The air thickened as each of us instinctively realized the gravity of her words. The night closed in, shadows shifting with uninvited contempt. Wait, who? What do they want? I gasped, my heart racing as I contemplated the endless repercussions of my whispered rebellion. Clara's voice was grave, bordering on sharp panic now. They know you've started to slip. We have to get you out of here before it's too late. Every part of me screamed for Clarissa way to understand the steps ahead, but nothing made sense in this tumultuous moment. In that split second, as Jack and Rachel edged me closer to safety, I felt the tremors of my decision ripple through my core. I was on the cusp of everything awakening, fighting for freedom, risking everything from my past to carve a future. Yet as we turned to dash into the night, I caught a glimpse of Clara's phony snippet of a message that struck my heart like a hard, cold steel blade. Your daughter is no longer under our control. The weight of those words bore down on me, a stomach-churning revelation thickened by fear and uncertainty as the night spiraled into chaos, thrusting our destinies further into the abyss. As we rushed through the park, each heartbeat thudded like a drum echoing through the silence, vulnerability intertwining with adrenaline as Clara led us through dimly lit streets, our breath catching in our throats. The message still echoed in my mind, a stark reminder of the power they sought to wield over me. They are watching, Clara reiterated, her voice a low warning. The fear radiating from her only spurred the urgency within us. I couldn't fully grasp the depths of what was happening. My world felt unmoored, churning in unfamiliar tides. Glancing at Jack, I sensed his worry mirrored my own. We both understood how precarious our situation had become. What happens now? I asked, my voice just above a whisper. We need to get to a safe place to regroup, Clara insisted, glancing around as if shadows might rise up at any moment. They will be desperate to maintain their grasp, and the longer we delay, the more vulnerable you become. That a surge of determination ignited in me. I didn't want to be a pawn anymore. This was my life, my choice. I had already taken a step beyond the threshold of my family's expectations, and now faced the reality of their consequences. With purpose fueling each stride, we moved deeper into the night, away from prying eyes. Eventually, we ducked into the back alley of a coffee shop, its neon sign flickering like a beacon for lost souls. The air felt thick with unspoken worries as we all settled into a small empty corner, secluded, yet uncertain. What's the plan? Max asked, his brows furrowed in concentration as he scanned the empty cafe. I looked at Clara, my pulse racing. You said we should find allies. We need to decide who we can trust. Rachel nodded. I can reach out to a couple of people from school, those who've always known something was off. My heart swelled at the idea of unearthing potential allies. I had been so consumed by the impending conflict with my parents that I had forgotten the power of community, the strength found in numbers. But what about your parents? Jack whispered, leaning in closely to ensure our voices didn't carry. Eventually they will find out. Taking a deep breath, I spoke. Then it's time they realized I'm not the one they thought I was. This fight is about more than just me. It's about standing up for all the others who feel trapped in similar situations. Suddenly, the world around me felt lighter, ignited by a purpose I had long sought after. It felt good to finally wear my heart on my sleeve, to dare to dream beyond the confines of expectations. I reached into my pocket, pulling out Clara's phone and tapping through the messages. "We have to create a backup plan. Any slips can be catastrophic," I said firmly. As the discussion intensified, I felt a presence shift in the room, the air thickening. My instincts screamed of an impending crisis as I glanced towards the door. I mustered the courage to catch Clara's eye, her face a mask of impending dread. Just then, the bell above the entrance chimed melodically, and I flinched, caught off guard by the looming figure stepping into the cafe. My parents. My heart dropped into my stomach, the reality crashing down upon me like a tidal wave. Every ounce of resolve I had summoned felt stripped away as they scanned the room with hawk-like intensity, their eyes narrowing when they landed on me. I recoiled instinctively, the weight of their expectations clashing with my newfound sense of autonomy. "What are you doing here?" My mother's voice was venomous, each syllable a reminder of who was supposed to hold the reins of my life. "You're not supposed to be here." "Mom, please," I began, but she held up her hand, silencing me with a flare of fury. "You think you can just run away and betray us? After everything we've sacrificed for you?" "Sacrificed?" I echoed, emotion and indignation bursting forth. "These sacrifices were never about me. They were about your ideals. I've lost everything under your control." I watched the storm clouds boil across my mother's face, but I didn't look away. I fought for the courage that had begun to crystallize within me. "Enough!" my father barked, stepping between my mother and me, authority radiating from him like a blazing fire. "You're coming home, and we're going to put this to rest before things spiral further out of control. This is unacceptable." Noticing the unsettled expressions on Max and Rachel's faces, I quickly realized they were equally stunned by the confrontation unfolding. I felt eyes narrowing, everything slipping into an uneasy haze. But amidst the chaos, I clung to the flame flickering inside me, an undeniable urge to stand up for my own future. "No," I declared firmly, my voice echoing through the dim shop, startling even myself. "I won't let you control my life any longer. I choose this path for myself." The silence that followed weighed heavily, tension thickening in the air around us. The world narrowed down to just our bystanders or distractions, only raw emotion that threatened to overflow. The sharp glances darting between us felt charged, almost electric, as each family member awaited the other's next move. A mixture of disbelief and anger rolled through their features, but I stood my ground, every part of me igniting in defiance against the fear that had shackled me. "Do you even know what's truly happening?" I pressed, heart pounding as I focused on my mother. "You think these plans were love? You're smothering me with ideals that don't fit what I want. I want freedom that you've denied me." Glimmers of hesitation flickered across my mother's face as she opened her mouth to respond, doubt creeping into her posture for the first time. "You have no idea," she began, but my father suddenly cut her off, an edge of desperation breaking through. "You're only making this worse. This isn't how we handle family matters." Just as they fought to regain their footing, I turned to Max and Rachel, tightening my grip on their hands, a symbolic anchor against the uncertainty that held us all hostage. "We're doing this together. I won't let them intimidate me. I refuse to be afraid." Suddenly, the possibility of my parents' acknowledgement hung in the balance. Were they willing to accept this shift in power dynamics? To realize that their truth wasn't the only narrative? Out of the corner of my eye, Clara wavered, then stepped forward. "The choices you've made come with consequences, but that doesn't dictate who you are. Everyone deserves a chance to redefine their path. You have the right to forge your own identity." The tremor of her voice buzzed through the cafe, laying bare the ultimate truth that it wasn't too late to bridge the growing gap. I felt the damp weight of vulnerability settle around me but pushed it aside, allowing hope to surge. "You need to understand that this isn't a betrayal," I implored, facing my mother anew. "I love you, but there must be a way to move forward without losing sight of who I am. Our love has never been the problem." As the words hung in the air, a shift began to crystallize, a fragile thread blooming between us, balmy warmth rising amidst uncertainty. My parents looked at one another, realizations dawning as if they were finally beginning to grasp the consequences of manipulation. Wishes forgotten in the rush of their ambitions were now entwined with reality, and through the haze I slowly began to feel that maybe, just maybe, the connection hadn't altogether severed. "Please," I urged, my voice soft yet resolute. "Let's talk for real this time. I don't want to be at war with the people I love." In that moment, as I stepped forward and extended my hand, I sensed the ground beneath my feet shift, the air thickening with unspoken hopes and expectations, all converging towards the possibility of healing. My parents exchanged a cautious glance before my mother stepped toward me, her expression softening beneath the weight of the chaos we had created. "You're our daughter," she murmured, her voice trembling as she reached for my hand. "And I see you, even if I haven't always understood." There was a tentative acceptance blooming in that exchange, as electrifying as a whisper in the stillness, their walls slowly descending in the wake of vulnerability reflected. "Back at you," as my heart swelled with tentative hope, I turned to Jack, Rachel, and Max. Recognition of our shared struggle united us in silent brotherhood. The bonds we forged today would lay the foundation for better mornings ahead, one in which our voices could blend harmoniously into a brighter future. In that moment, I felt freedom's embrace, the flame of self-acceptance engulfing us in a gentle cocoon. Together we could shine brighter than the shrouded past ever could. As the shadows retreated, the dawn began to creep at the edges of my universe, and I couldn't help but think perhaps this was the beginning, not just for me, but for all of us. With a renewed sense of purpose, I took a breath, glancing at everyone gathered, and said, "No matter what happens next, I promise to choose love." And it was only then that I understood. Love was not an ideal to be showcased, but an honest commitment to choosing acceptance over expectations, even in the face of immense change. In that hopeful glow flickering in our shared space, I knew one thing unequivocally: it was so much more than worth the fight.